Whether you're a teacher or a paraprofessional, I've got 7 tips that you need to know before you start your school year. Let's get into it.
It's time to get recharged, people.
You're about to embark on another school year, and you might be a little bit nervous about it. But I've got 7 tips that are going to help you, and you need to know these before you start your school year. First off, if you can find information about the students on your roster who you know might be challenged with behaviors or who you know might need a little more academic support, if you know that ahead of time, it's going to be helpful. And if you know that information, this is an opportunity for you to go digging. Talk to former teachers, talk to the principal, here's a good one, talk to a school counselor. You want to make sure that you know a little bit about those specific students who need the most support before you step into school the first day. But be careful with that information though, because sometimes that comes with an asterisk. Sometimes previous teachers have been through the trenches of working with this student, especially if they've got behavior challenges, and they might unload all the things that the kid did wrong. However, what you're looking for is what the student needs to improve on and really dial in on what their strengths are. You're also going to want to look for what are they interested in, because even if a kid has behavior challenges, if they walk through the door and you automatically know what they're into, you're going to have a better chance to connect with that kid. And I'm telling you, you're not going to have success with kids with behavior challenges unless you have some kind of connection. Speaking of connections, number 2 is trying to find a balance between establishing a rapport with the student and also setting some parameters and expectations. If you have the old school mentality like you don't smile until Christmas, and you think you're going to rule the classroom like an authority figure, I've got news for you. That'll work with some of your students, but you know who that won't work for? Any kids with behavior challenges. They're not going to look at you as some amazing dominant figure and have their behavior fall into a magical place. That's not how it works. Instead, take the approach of connecting with them and trying to make sure that you set expectations and lay out for them what the parameters are. You need a balance of both to make sure that you're successful, not just with students with behavior challenges, but with all the students in your classroom. Number 3 is kind of a no brainer, but people need to be reminded about it. If your job as a teacher is to just grind through the curriculum, you're not setting yourself up for success. You want to have fun and engaging learning experiences with students where they feel like they're enjoying the learning process. And by the way, if you do that, you're more likely to connect with your students with behavior challenges, and you're much more likely to have less behavior flare ups. Number 4, look at the paperwork before the school year. When I say paperwork, I'm not talking about just checking out your roster. I mean, look at the IEPs, the 504s, any documentation you have on the students. Do some digging, especially if you know they're going to need some extra support. Find out a little bit more about them before they walk in your door. It's going to be really helpful. And the other thing this will help you with is identifying who you need to focus on the first couple days. And I would highly suggest maybe an email or a phone call home to those parents if those kids that you're worried about have awesome days the first couple days. That could also help you later on in the year if you need to try to pull the parents in to get everybody on the same page to improve the behavior or the motivation of a student. You want to avoid your first contact with parents being, let me tell you what Johnny did wrong today. This, and this, and he's driving me nuts. That's not a recipe for success. Instead, you want to send a message to the parents that you know their kid. And if you dive into the paperwork ahead of time, you can find some areas you know they're struggling with and focus on them on the first couple days. And now they know you're coming at it from a viewpoint of caring and compassion. It will make a big difference. So make sure you check out the IEPs, the 504s, or any other kind of documentation that you think is going to give you information about kids that you need to focus on, especially the first couple days, but probably all year long. Number 5 is kind of a no-brainer, but it really needs to be stated again. Ask for help if you need it. Even veteran teachers need help. It is not easy working in education. So if you need more help with anything, don't be afraid to reach out and get some. Also, keep in mind if you need more help with other areas besides academics, use your staff that you have within your existing school. Maybe there's some paraprofessionals that you know that are really good at working with behaviors. Maybe there's a counselor who has some extra insight on that student. Use the resources, use the people you have at your school, and lean on them. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Number 6, give yourself some grace. This is hard work, people. This is really hard work. Being an educator is super impactful, but it comes with really, really hard strains on you. Give yourself grace if your lessons don't come off. Give yourself some grace if your students have a rough day. Dust yourself off, get back in there the next day, and tell yourself, I got this. Yesterday's behind me. Give yourself some grace. You deserve it. And our last one is make sure you celebrate your successes. Your trophies as an educator come from the small successes that you have with your students. Make sure that you notice them. Make sure that you pack them away, put them in your trophy case so that by the end of the year, your trophy case is busting at the seams. Finally, let me just say thank you. Thank you to the educators out there who want to make a big impact on young people. Your job is super important, but I know it's not easy. But thank you for your hard, important work. It makes a difference. If you like the content we have here on the Recharged Family YouTube channel, you might also want to check out some of the content we have at rechargedfamily.com, where we have multiple podcasts and a service business to help families on an individual basis. And if you could be kind enough to subscribe, it will allow us to get more content out to you, and it will also allow us to get more content and resources out to more parents and educators who need it so that we can all help to support kids.